I'm officially 50 now. I have joined the 50s club, officially midlife woman. And today I'm going to be starting off my very first video, being 50, with a midlife chat full of goals, dreams, ambition. Well, I've officially made it. I'm here. I'm 50 and entering midlife. So as this is my first video on my channel, being 50, I have been thinking about goals and what I want to accomplish as I'm 50 and I'm heading into the next part of my life. So I decided to look up some women that I could think of that were successful or barely began to be successful in their 50s and beyond. In society today, we always think about how younger is better and we should accomplish more when we're younger because we're healthier and we have more energy. But as I was researching, I found many women that just started to become successful and began to build their dream, to live their dream, and to accomplish goals either at age 50 or after that. First woman I found that you probably know right off the bat is Martha Stewart. Did you know that Martha Stewart started her career off at 50 years old? She started off with her first publication of her book, and then she launched her show, Martha Stewart Living. And this was in the 90s. So if you were around during that time, you know, or you may have seen the show when it first started. Now they have it on Roku and all these other places you can go see her vintage, we call it now, program. But I remember I was a teenager. My grandma would love to watch it, and she would watch it for the crafts and for the DIYs and the gardening and all that. And I remember thinking, wow, that's kind of like an old lady show at the time. But I hadn't got into the thought of homemaking and all of that. I was still too young. I was a teenager. That was the beginning of when I found out about Martha Stewart. Now, I didn't know she was 50 years old. I didn't know anything really about her. And it wasn't until later on in my life when I started to understand. But when I researched, I couldn't believe. I knew Martha Stewart might have been in her middle age, but I didn't realize that she was exactly 50. And in those years of her 50s, when she became so successful. The thing with Martha, she had success leading up to that. She had done a few other things that were quite successful in her life. But this was the main thing I feel that she wanted to do in her life, as far as be on television and run her program and also be able to, do everything that she does so well and to show us and teach us. I've learned so much from her, really, from everything. Let me know in the comments below if you have too and you love Martha Stewart. Another successful woman that is encouraging, that started her success in her 50s, was Julia Child, the famous chef of all. She's way up there, just like Martha Stewart. I remember the first time I saw Julia on PBS when I was a little girl, and on the weekends it would come on, and I thought at first she was kind of boring. In those days, there was no Food Network or any of that. So basically PBS is where I got to see a lot of cooking shows, and I really liked those. It was really fun. Of course, I didn't understand everything Julia would do. She was way gourmet over my head in those days, especially being a little girl. But it did plant seeds for me to want to learn how to cook, and love watching cooking shows after that. Anything I could get my hands on. I just love those kind of shows. So Julia Child is another inspiration for us, ladies. I mean, how can we go wrong? Next woman that started her success in her 50s or beyond was Maya Angelou. I remember reading her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I do remember in junior high, early high school, we had to read that book, and that's all I knew about her. Later on in life in college, I started to find out that Maya was such an inspiration. First of all, I started to learn about how much I love to write, and this was in my 9th grade. I started with poetry. Then I started to realize as I was free writing, I was learning description words and all of this. So I was learning how to write fiction, and I was really gravitated to that. And then I started to learn about famous authors, and Maya was one of them. I also learned that Maya was a late bloomer. Even though she had a success with writing later on in her life, she worked as a dancer, a singer, a journalist, an educator, and a civil rights activist. She was immense. And she not only was that, but then she began to learn art and she became an artist for Hallmark. And she started to make cards, and before you knew it, she was doing this at the age of 72. So she had all this ambition and energy and passion still. And that is so encouraging to me. I hope this is helping you ladies understand that at middle age, we can accomplish more than we could even do in our first 50 years of life. This has encouraged me so much because one of my goals that I do have and that I never got to do and I'm still waiting to do is writing and writing books. I have a lot of unfinished projects. I started with poetry. I did publish with poetry 2 books when I was first in college student. So that is exciting. But I always have, I have all sorts of different ideas, and I'll talk and share a little bit more about that in another video. But when I read about successful writers and how they became famous, or they didn't write until they were later on in their life, it is very encouraging to me. The next woman that's such an inspiration for us midlife ladies is Mary Kay Ash. Now, Mary Kay Ash is very special to me because I'm in Mary Kay. This is the company and my business that I have been in for more than since 2001, so a long time. And she has been such an inspiration to me. When I read her book, in fact, I have her book right here. It's pink, love it. This is like the revised version. I read this every so often. This is so inspiring in itself. Mary Kay Ash was a midlife woman. She had already retired. She was 45 years old. It was 1963, and she decided to come up with a marketing plan and a product for women for skincare. And it all started with skincare. And then it went to a few extra color cosmetics. So Mary Kay Ash started with no money. She only had a little in her savings, and she had her son dress up with her that was a teenager to go to the bank. He wore a suit and everything just so she could get a loan, because women weren't given loans in those days. This is the 60s. So she actually had her son help her. This is an amazing story. If you have never read her story, I definitely recommend that you read this if you want some inspiration, motivation. Her story has not just helped me in my business, but it's helped me in my whole entire life. I realize that I can do anything in this time of my life. And although Mary Kay Ash is known as a business entrepreneur that began a company that's still here today, 62 years, and is still running strong, she was also a writer. She wrote her books. She has many books on business and how to be a successful businesswoman by touching the heart of women. And that's what I love so much too about being in business with Mary Kay. The last one I want to share with you, she's a writer, and I found out as I was going through and researching more writers, I didn't realize that Laura Ingalls Wilder was also a woman in her 50s and started to write. We all know the Little House on the Prairie book series. She's the author of those and beyond. There's a whole collection of them. Did you know that Laura Ingalls Wilder was 65 years old when she found success with her first publication, Little House in the Big Woods? Did you realize that? I couldn't believe it. I thought she was a little older. I did not realize she was 65. That is really encouraging for me because when I think of everything that she accomplished, she decided to sit down and write about her life in the prairie later on in her life, and it blew up. It became an icon. It will be forever a classic. She is a classic. She has gone down in history as a classic writer. They created a television series out of it, and so many more inspirational movies and series and things have spun from that. So, wow, so encouraging. We can accomplish, we can do things. It's not over, it's not too late. And I wanted to start off 50 with this encouraging affirmation for myself and for you too, those of you that are in middle age. I want you to comment down below and tell me if there's a goal or something that you've been wanting to accomplish too, and that you're going to work on it. Let's do this together. I really want to share more about me wanting to write. And so as I'm sharing, I want you to share also. Let's encourage each other. If you want to see some more midlife chats about how it's not too late when you're turning 50 to begin to dream again. And that video I will link right here for you so you can go see that next. And I will see you in my next midlife chat video.